Why are you not a करोड़पति? आप करोड़पति क्यों नहीं हो यार? बच्चा बच्चा करोड़पति बन रहा है.
Hi everyone, welcome to Blue Dragon Universe, and this is the Blue Dragon Actuarial YouTube channel. And today's topic is a very sensitive topic, which is related to why actual fellows are not crores these days. And obviously, you have seen the video or the section before this when someone who is asking you why are you not crorepati, बच्चा बच्चा आज के दिन पे करोड़पति बन रहा है. So I just kept that as a funny segment because I saw that ad, and trust me, it is not that easy to become crorepati, and it takes a lot of hard work. And obviously the value of being crorepati is going to decrease in later years, but obviously still even now, and I can say maybe 5 years down the line as well, the salary or package or annual income of 1 CR would still be relevant. Maybe 5 years down the line, then 1 CR would probably lose its relevance, but even today it is very very important. It's a big figure. Very few people will reach there, and for many that would be their dream destination, and they would not reach there even in their entire life, even 10 years 15 years from now, right? Those who are not that maybe not that hardworking, or those who would not be able to adapt to change, right? They would be thrown off from the race, right? And that's how life is, right? It will always make selection about stronger people. So that's why today's video is very important. It's a thought-provoking video, and that's why I request you to go through the entire video, not by skipping, and question traditions. That is the most important thing for this. So why are actual fellows not properties these days? There will always be exceptions, and I can tell, like, I can give my own example. I am a qualified actually now. The paperwork is still in process, but I have breached that level. So there are qualified actuaries who are at that level, and that is the reason I'm eligible to make these videos. Otherwise, had I not crossed that level myself, there is no point in making this video, because I have not reached that level now. But most fellows of today who are kind of qualifying these days, they will never be crorepati's. The reason is what we are going to discuss, and also how you can probably change that. And frankly speaking, these are all related to your mindset. Your mindset tells you to do something, and that mindset comes from maybe your upbringing, maybe your friend circle, and there are multiple combination of different factors. However, if you can work on those, you can change your mindset, and you can definitely reach that level and beyond, right? So first of all, let us look at the reasons. First is demand versus supply. Now, the more time that passes, more people will know about. Actually, when I started in 2013, there were very few people who were even aware of actuaries. Even I did not know about actuary till the time I get into a life insurance company through an MBA placement. So I had no idea that actually existed. But these days I met people, and I've received messages from people who are in class 8, class 9, and they are looking to prepare for actually so early, right? It's like IIT or IIM preparation, like during our time when IIT and IIM preparation or CAT preparation was so important, because those are the the high profile jobs. People started preparing about those from class 11, and maybe few I know a couple of people uh, from my college days, St. Xavier's College, when they were preparing for the joint entrance and the IIT exam, when they are in class 8 or class 9, and they were surprised. I never prepared for it. I My parents did not have the money for it, but they were surprised that I never prepared for that. I always I paid for those exams from my own. Uh, what can I say? Class 11 or 12 books. No other books was used, and that's the reason I never got good rank or in the joint or the IIT in the before the college level. So demand and supply is going to change. Right now there is a lot of congestion in the actual fresher level, and 5 6 years down the line, same thing will happen for the associate, and same thing will happen for the fellows, because the institute will gain revenue by that manner only. They have to publicize, and that is what they are doing. Also, they have to pass more people, so it will become easier with time, because otherwise one institute would not survive against other. If IFOI London is making more people pass, India has to follow that, because otherwise people will not register from India. They will only register from IFOI. So that is going to happen. There is, it's just a business, business sense, that that demand is going to reduce and supply is going to increase, because that's how everything is kind of positioned. Also, why would a business owner or an insurance shareholder pay you when AI in when it gets more mature? Right now, AI is just in a kid stage. Then it will become a teenager, and finally it will become an adult, maybe in 5 6 years. And why would a business owner pay you when AI can do your job in the next 5 6 years, or maybe 2 3 years from now, right? Depends on how AI evolves. And then in that sense, the actuary is also replaceable, right? And although some of the decisions that actuary takes are very kind of practical one, they have to think about the pros and cons. But the moment you can regularize a decision, like some of the parameters that you look as an actuary, if you can kind of put it in a process, then AI can do that, right? And I think sooner or later AI will also be dynamic. So it is coming for you, right? It's just that it is not coming today. So people who are not interested about AI today, they are going to get a rude awakening when AI takes away their jobs. And the final thing is decrease in revenue for insurers. That is because most of the government these days are moving towards that tax structure where insurance would not give, not be given some special treatment as compared to other financial instruments. Maybe like, and that is also a demand from the other financial sectors, like why would ULIP be given more better tax treatment or favorable tax treatment as compared to a mutual fund, right? So all of this pressure would come into government, and government would also reduce those, they would reduce the tax benefit. And especially in India, if the I highly strongly believe, if the current government continues to be in power after the election, then I don't think they would go back to the old tax regime of 80C and 80D. And those sections would be removed from the tax, maybe sooner or later, maybe not be in this year, but maybe in the next year. And although this budget was a provisional budget, right? So the actual budget will happen in July with whoever party will come into power. So this if the same party comes into power, they have already established a structure where they are moving from the old regime to the new tax regime. New tax regime would not have any such deductions, and that would mean a severe decrease in revenue for insurer. That would be because most of the people in India today buy, especially life insurance. General insurance do not have any tax benefit, but life insurance, the most of the people buy because there is some tax advantage. And if you see the monthly progression of most Indian insurer, they would saw a peak during December of every year, because that is the time we are required to submit proofs related to income tax. And that is where the most of the business or revenue for the insurance is generated. And probably in the next 3 months as well, January, February, and March, right? People also take newer resolutions and they invest in insurance. So now the insurance business, after removal of those sections, would be sold for proper reasons, protection and other benefit of insurance, not for tax benefit. And the moment tax benefit is removed, insurance would become a sector which is less attractive, and that will cause decrease in revenue for insurer. So the insurer would not have the ability to pay you more. Obviously, AI is going to take your job if you are not serious, if you are not learning AI. And obviously the demand and supply game is going to change. I have given you reasons for that as well, right? So where actual fellows lack, and this is something that I have spoken time and again, and I have also coined that term called paper actuary, bookish knowledge. Qualified actuaries these days are having very very bookish knowledge, because they have not worked for that long. Even if they have worked, they have not understood the work. They have just understood the manual process, like button A, button B, button C, and this is the result, and now I'm going to match the result with something, and that is okay, that is fine, that is how they have done the work. So because of this bookish knowledge, they they lack in the practical work, or they cannot solve problem, which is a big concern. And these days, when I interview people, when I meet with people, that concern is only growing, it is not decreasing, it is only growing. The lack in knowledge of people is astonishing to me, and it is increasing. Also, many people I have seen they write exam to clear it, top it by memorizing pattern. There is a fascination about AIR, and that is because the institute have started promoting AIR, like AIR 1, AIR 2. People write. Recently I saw a LinkedIn post where someone mentioned that this is my third or fourth no, AIR 1. The practical thing is nobody cares about your AIR 1. If I have to hire someone, I would not distinguish between a person who has scored AI1 as compared to a person who has just passed the exam. It's just passing the exam is sufficient, because AIR1 does not mean that you will be scoring AIR1 every time. It means that for that paper, and whatever you chose to write on that day was good, right? It also mean that you might be very good in that paper, because there is a possibility, but that depends on your interview level, your understanding, your knowledge. That is not something that can be assumed from the start, and it is not going to help you in any manner. Also, exam can't increase your knowledge beyond a certain level, because books has to be written in a slightly toned down manner so that everyone kind of participate in that knowledge. And especially in a financial world, books cannot represent everything, because there are softwares associated. You need to understand how a software behaves, then only you can understand the actual concept. And there are many practical limitations of a theoretical concept which is written in book. So book can say something, but the software would have different interpretation. As for example, if you have studied CM1, or maybe CS1, right? So the assurance factor or the annuity factor that we use, or the way we do the hypothesis testing, those are not actually done in real life. In fact, the assurance factor, annuity factor are not used at all for calculating reserves. And see, someone who has cleared CM1 or got AIR1 in CM1, that person might be very good in understanding assurance factor, annuity factor, but in real life, that is not used. So your knowledge that you have gained from the book is of no relevance to me when I'm hiring, right? So that's where knowledge matters, but your rank, your whether you have cleared all your exam on first attempt, that does not matter, because in any ways what you are learning is slightly kind of easier version, not slightly, it's quite easier version of what you would be doing in real work. And that is not going to help you. Obviously it shows that you have the ability to understand concept, that is why you have cleared the exam, but that would not give you much of an edge in real practical work. Moving on, and most actual fellows these days kind of think of actual exam like a school or college exam. This is what I have understood from many people by interacting with many people. Especially I get many messages on Friday, like this Friday, because the India result was kind of announced. And whenever the result get announced, the next Friday I would see a plethora of messages, because and this mindset is common among people, where people see this exam as school or college exam, and they think that they have scored this much mark or that much, that mark, and that is very good, 80%, 70%. That does not actually, once again, I'll say that exam can't increase your knowledge beyond a particular level. Exam are the very basic that you require in an actual world. And if you clear exam, there is, or if you clear all your exams in one go, maybe you become a fellow in maybe 2 years or 3 years, that does not guarantee that you'll be a very good actuary in years to come. For that there is multiple things has to come into place, so that you become a good actuary, or you reach that level of 1 CR. So people somehow kind of mistook this as school or college exam, but it's a professional exam. The thing with professional exam is it has to be learned doing the profession, or undergoing this the process of profession. So without that, your exam passing does not mean much. Moving on, and most fellows today with whom I have interacted, and whatever I can gauge from what they write about actuaries, or what they write something in LinkedIn, is they lack problem solving skills. And that is the reason they are not getting paid. Because if you have problem solving skills, because same thing, same process, or something that is done day in and day out, that anyone can do. But if you have a difficult problem which no one has done in the past, and if you are stuck in that problem, if you can't solve that problem, obviously the person who would be able to solve that problem would be paid much more as compared to even if you are a qualified, actuary or anything else. So now we'll come to a very interesting story, and you will see the story, and you have to, you can. It's a 1 minute story about what people think about ostrich and what actually is true about that ostrich. So I'll just stop here, see the story, and come back. So I hope you have seen the story. The problem with this generation of actual student is they feel that whatever has been told to them by their, maybe by their parents, by their friends, or whatever they have heard in their peer circle, they believe that to be true. Whether and they do not question that, right? They do not. That is the problem that I have with this generation. They have a very rigid mindset. They don't question something, even if I am saying something, and if you may or may not agree with that, but you have to question that thought process. If someone is saying something, you have to question that thought process, unless you have a very strong data backing what you currently know. It do what 99% people do, you are never going to reach that level, right? You will be part of majority, and you will stay in the majority. You have to be exceptional to reach that level. That is the sole purpose of this video. Moving on, why are you trapped? Once again, this is what I called herd mentality. Papa said so. Papa said so. By this term, I mean that someone who is at a senior level, whom you look up to, they have said something and you have not questioned it. Rigid mindset, right? Extremely rigid mindset. I'm surprised by the extreme rigidity of actual student, and especially if they have done, or as per them they have achieved something, they become very rigid in that thought process. Someone who have maybe qualified as a fellow, maybe in 3 years or 4 years, to them that's an achievement, and that is indeed an achievement because they have done it very quickly. But then unfortunately they have developed that rigid mindset. So you have to kind of keep yourself flexible. Only a dead body is rigid. Other than that, if you're a living person, you have to be flexible, right? And like here I like to mention that there is a Bollywood celebrity, and I don't know why he's called a celebrity, who was asked once, what do you do? And he mentioned that I live, and hence I called, I'm a liver. So instead of being a liver, be an interrogator, right? Ask questions, question traditions. Sometimes some questions are, the answer to those questions would be what is going on in currently, like maybe we already know what are healthy foods, and you don't need to ask questions, or even if you ask questions the answer might remain the same. But maybe for some people, they might need more carbs to survive, and you cannot prescribe the same thing for that person, because that person is different. So you have to question. Something would be relevant for you, something would not be relevant for you, but asking question is very, very important. If you lose that ability to ask question, you'll always be trapped. Secondly, and these days, like I mentioned, institute will provide designations like associate, fellow, certificate of actual techniques, qualified associate actuary, partly qualified actuary. There are so many designations available in LinkedIn these days. And trust me, this designation does not mean anything. It's either you are a qualified actuary, which is fellow, or you are not. Rest of the designations are given by institute so that they can do some marketing and they can increase their revenue. So they are kind of trapping you to purchase whatever they are going to sell. And if you are getting trapped in that, then you lack common sense, right? Because you have to understand that qualified associate actuary, and fellows, and maybe an associate does not mean anything. That there is no difference between these two, right? Or same goes for partly qualified. Actually, you are just the institute is just making you feel good by giving that designation to you. It does not add any value to you, right? So you have to understand what makes value and what does not make value, and you have to follow and question what maybe what is creating value for you. Moving on, like I mentioned, in real life these are useless. Recently I appeared for like the the job that I'm currently doing. I can, like, you might probably be surprised to know that one of the interview for that job lasted for 4 hours, where none of the question was from book. It was purely from problem solving. This thing happened, what do you do? From management perspective, you have a conflict in your team, how do you manage that conflict? None of the question was from book, right? So if you want to reach that level, right, you have to think outside box, and books are just making you think within the box. And that is important, because if you can't think within the box, then you would not have the ability to think outside box. But once you are a qualified actuary, once you are below or above the average, right, then you have to understand that thinking within box will not help you. So all these designations are making the institute richer, and but not you, right? So you are actually getting poorer if you are following within the trap of these designations. So be cautious here. The institute will publicize the AIR, the institute will publicize the exam passers more than the exam failures, right? And that's how they are going to grow. So that is good for them, but that is not good for you. That is not how you are going to grow. So you have to once again question this and understand what is good for you. Moving on, you need to solve problems, right? Like I mentioned in that interview, I was given problems and they were checking my ability to solve the problem. Sometime I may not be able to solve the problem because of the interview stress and everything, but they are trying to see if what I'm thinking is in the right direction, or what or if I am at least able to make an attempt, right? So you need to solve problems. Whatever you have learned in book or practical work, you need to solve a problem. If you can't solve a problem, then why would you be paid, right? Someone else who is solving that problem would be paid. If you are only doing routine work, then you will be given routine salary. Only when you do exceptional work, you will be given exceptional salary, or you will have that exceptional income. So that is something you can only gain by asking questions. Because if you don't ask question, you'll always be within that papa said so syndrome, the rigid mindset, and you'll always be part of the herd. You cannot be someone who is leading the herd. So that's where you have to question, right? You have to question traditions. You have to ask whether something is good for you, whether something is not good for you. And even if the answer is something which is different from someone you look up to or follow, maybe the answer is different from your parents, you have to follow that path. Even if you're wrong, you will learn something in the process. But if you do not take that risk, then obviously you are never going to reach that level. Moving on, so you have to, this is the most important point. It's not that exams are not important. Exam shows that you have the necessary discipline to study for hours and to pass something, right, which is already considered difficult. But you have to balance your exam with workings. Some people are so demotivated when they do not clear an exam, which should not be the case. You should be more demotivated if you're not getting a good rating in your job, because that means that even if you are passing the exam, you are not going to get benefit of that exam, right? Because I think I have already made a video on that, the study policy, the actual study policy. If you do not get a certain rating, you are not going to get the incentive associated with the study policy. So you should focus more on your work and less on your exam. Once again, these are professional exams, and if you can't balance, then actually is not for you. Then you should go into some other profession where you might do very well, but actually would require you to balance between exam and work. So people who have very high work but they do not have the exam will get stuck in their careers. People who have very high exams or may have become qualified actually, but they do not have the real knowledge associated with the work, they will also get stuck. None of these people is going to clear the 1 CR package. uh, Only people who have a good balance of exam and work are going to go through that package, right? So 5 things you can do. First is you have to stop glamorizing exam passes. This coaching center will do, right? This institute will do. They will promote AIR, they will promote the motivational post, and many people will write something like that. I was so sick before the exam, or I was not able to study. Some my grandmother passed away, my grandfather passed away. Even then, I passed the exam. They will dedicate exam to their children, maybe dogs, whoever, right? Whoever they love, right? But these are normal things. Exams should not be, if passing exam is the biggest achievement in your life, then you're already below average in actually. So you have to understand that exams are like the below average thing. It is just positioning you to understand more bigger and better things in actuary. If you can't understand that, then you are part of this herd and nerd mindset. Then you are just born to write and clear exam. But once again, those knowledge that you gain from clearing and passing exam would not be sufficient for you to do well in job. So you have to balance, right? So stop glamorizing exam passes, AI, and motivational post on exams. Predict the future and act on it like AI. That is something which is very important. If you do not if you do not know AI, if you do not understand the mathematics that goes behind AI, then sooner or later your job will be taken by someone, right? Or might be a software who is going to make you jobless. So you have to kind of predict the future and act on it. This is what I call the decision making. Then be honest to yourself, especially about your strength and weakness. I see many people who are qualified actually, especially those people uh, who have qualified, for those like I mentioned, those who believe that they have done something great in their life, and they're so rigid that they do not understand what are their strength and weakness. They might know nothing about par product, but they would say that they know everything of everything. So this self awareness is very important once again. Otherwise you will become rigid, you will lose your ability to interrogate, right? And if when you lose your ability to ask those questions, then you can only be weak, you can never be strong. So you have to be honest to yourself. At least you may not say that to the world that this is your weakness, but if you feel that this is your weakness, you have to work on that. Otherwise you are not going to once again breach that 1 year package. Finally, you have to take challenging projects which no one else is taking. Like I mentioned, 99% people would always be part of the herd. If you want to lead that herd, then you have to do something which others are not doing, right? So that's where you have to take calculative risk. Now you have to maintain the number of challenging projects. You cannot, all your projects cannot be challenging. Then you would be under tremendous stress and you would not be able to do well. However, if there is a combination of projects which are might be simple for you, which you can do easily, and then there is two project which is challenging, then that will immensely help you. Once again, balance is the key, right? And all of this thing would come to you if you question. If you question every day, then your decision making would improve, and if your decision making improves, sooner or later you are going to make good decision for yourself. And finally, think about multiple ways to solve a problem. This is what an entrepreneur would do. Like if you have seen Shark Tank, the way they are questioned, right? And I'm not telling about the Indian Shark Tank, the us one. If you have seen in one of the episode, you will see that how they solve a problem, and then how they are questioned on whether there is any sustainable advantage, whether they are actually making the money they are claiming to make, right? So if you have to find out multiple ways to solve a problem and then choose the best one. Another good example of this would be how professional players play something. As for example, it was always said that Sachin Tendulkar, who is considered by many as the god of cricket, has 4 or 5 shots for the same ball, right? So he can play in multiple direction the same ball of the same bowler. So he can play in multiple directions. So that is what you have to understand, that you might have 4 or 5 solution, but you have to choose the best possible solution depending on what the situation suggests, right? Once again, that will come from consistent questioning and decision making, right? So I think if you follow all of this, you have something that others would not have, and that would make you pass that 1 CR package, not the number of exam, not the AIR. No matter how many times you have cleared an exam or how many times you have failed an exam, it depends on your knowledge and whether you are able to apply those knowledge in practical work. Because trust me, it is business. Nobody is going to, even including me, is going to give you some money because of charity, because at the end of the day we are here to make profit. If you cannot make me 10 crore profit, why am I going to give you 1 CR? That is a bad decision, right? So you can yourself understand what it takes to get to that 1 CR. So I hope you like this video. If you like this video, please share this video with your friends, I hope you got to learn something new about ostrich, right? And you can see the world in a slightly different manner. That's honestly the purpose of this YouTube channel. And yeah, see you in future videos.